Namaste. Hello everyone. Welcome to Shal Gulhati, Shiva and Mysticism for another episode of Monday with Mahadev. Today I'm going to speak to you about a terminology which is Adhikari Bhed. These two words, Adhikari Bhed, in Hinduism have a very special significance. The word Adhikari means one who's qualified, one who has been given the charge of something or is going to be given the charge of something, be it a position of power or be it a learning which is going to be given to him. And Bheda means difference. So Adhikari Bhed means there are different kinds of people who qualify for different kinds of responsibilities and learnings. We find somewhere that all the sacred texts which are given down by gurus, saints, or even by God are in different grade, in different measure to different recipients. For example, Lord Krishna has many friends and many gopis to whom he talks and with whom he shares his sacred revelations. But amongst the thousands of gopis that he has, who are all his bhakts, he may tell a little more to Radha, who is the chief gopi. And similarly, when he talks to his mother, Yashoda, he may show her or tell her about a different aspect of divinity. Or in a modern example, we had the very great Ramakrishna Paramhans, who had a great Gurukul and really superb students like Swami Vivekanand and Rakhal, who later became Swami Brahmanand, the first president of the Mutt. But Sri Ramakrishna Paramhans would tell each disciple as much as his qualification to imbibe would be. And in due course of time, when Swami Vivekanand himself was in charge of the Guru Bhais, he had many of them, but he also would tell more to Sister Nivedita and Rakhal, who was always at his side by now. So, if we take the example again of Sri Krishna and talk about the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where the Mahabharata was about to take place, Krishna knew both Duryodhan and Arjun. Both were his disciples. But Duryodhan had a Pashu Bhava, an animal instinct. So he was a Pashu Adhikari, one who would know only the fact that Krishna is God, and he was not qualified because of his own lookout, because of his own way of being. He was not qualified to know anything really sacred beyond the fact that Krishna is God. But Arjun was the Veer Adhikari, the one who is a hero, the one who is ready to listen to whatever God has to tell. And therefore, it is the Veer Adhikari who realizes that God's texts are not only about day, but they are also about night, not only about life, but they are also about death, because God is beyond both these things. But the Veer Adhikari is able to understand that when God speaks about life, he will speak about death also, and so on. Therefore, he is the recipient of a higher sacred understanding and learning. But then we have, beyond the Pashu Adhikari and the Veer Adhikari, we have the Divya Adhikari. The Divya Adhikari is one who is already well established in the self, in the inner world, and is ready to get the knowledge from God or divinity about what is beyond even life and death. What is consciousness? what is Nirakar, what really is the whole significance of the Virat Rupam, of the infinity of consciousness. And the Divya Adhikari is the one who learns about non-duality, about Atma and Paramatma, and learns about the link of the Atma with Paramatma, of the individual soul with the universal soul, only to realize that there is only one, and that is the Paramatma. Now, when we go on to these non-dual texts, which are monism, which state that there is only one principle and that is God and we are all that, it is not therefore easy for the usual bhakt to understand this great stance of non-duality. Therefore, many of the bhakts are given only the sacred texts which enable them to do their worship in a normal way and go about their life and duties in a normal way, thinking of themselves as one and God as another, and yet they remain fixed in their worship. But in Kashmir Shaivism, the texts are largely non-dual. Shiva is interested in telling his rishis and munis largely about how to always remain connected with one's Shivaness. Actually, we are always connected with our Shivaness, but how to remain aware of that. And this is where the Siva Sutras given to Vasugupt and the Vijnana Bhairava given to Devi Parvati herself, these very, very special texts come in. Now, the astonishing thing is that the Vijnana Bhairava, which is the science of Shiva, Shiva expounds 112 Yoga Dharanas to Devi Parvati on how to reach Shivaness, how to be absolutely non-dual, that place where everything is one and one alone, where Shakti is also Shiva and Shiva is also Shakti, where Parvati is also Shankar and Shankar is also Parvati. Perfect non-duality, two as one. And he expounds these fabulous 112 Yoga Dharanas, but before doing that, he tells Parvati that I am going to teach you some very sacred texts, and once you learn them, you should practice them. And at the end he tells her, now I have taught you all the ways of reaching your own Shivahood, but be careful not to expound these texts to just about anybody. You should expound them only to some people. Therefore, the astonishing thing is that although Shiva is teaching about oneness and non-duality where there is only one, he still cautions about two and three and many and the different mindset of those people. So, Adhikari Bhed is a very important thing. It is not because the Guru likes somebody more or God has favorites or something like that. It is because in this Leela, in this great cosmic creation of God, which happens cyclically over and over and over again over yugas, God has the discernment to see which of his beings has evolved to the state of being a Divya Adhikari and who can now learn the highest sacred revelations of Shiva himself. Because Shiva has tried to share these commonly with everybody in the past, and we have had many stories of Danavas, Asuras, those who are not really Divya Adhikaris. Maybe they are Veera Adhikaris because the Danavas and the bad guys are always very heroic. There's no doubt about that. They are very brave. So Shiva has taught them things, has given them boons, and it has always backfired. So unless and until we change our own mindset and gradually go up the ladder of being a Divya Adhikari, a person who is qualified to know all the paramount sacred texts of God, of consciousness, of Mahadev, till then we have to learn in bits and pieces and keep going up this divine ladder back to our own supreme consciousness, which is Mahadev. So I hope you understand that Adhikari Bheda is not a sort of discrimination but it is actually just a measurement of the person who's going to be taught. Just like when we go to school and we are given a test, after which it is decided which grade we will go in. We will go in the 5th class or 6th class or a higher class. So this is the depth of ancient Hinduism, to be able to gauge and then to give. I hope you liked this video. Join me again next Monday and I will be back with another Shiva wisdom for you. Om Namah Shivaya.